Hi, I'm Kate Livy, the Director of Education and the Associate Curator here at the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, and I'd like to welcome you to another installment of Chesapeake Treasure, a feature here on Facebook where we explore one of the 68,000 objects in our collections. So today I've selected an image by a local Talbot County artist, Ruth Starr, that was featured in our recent exhibition, Broad Reach, 50 Years of Chesapeake Collecting. I really love this particular image, and I'm excited to talk to you today a little bit about Ruth Starr, who was a really remarkable woman working in the early 20th century. So this image depicts a packing house in St. Michael's circa 1932. And the image features African-American crab pickers, which would have been typical in towns like St. Michael's and throughout the eastern shore of the Chesapeake Bay. Typically in small towns like St. Michael's, which were really built around the seafood industry, crabs were a big part of the summer economy, and African-American women would do this type of piecework in the summertime, often surrounded by women they were related to, women they might have gone to church with. And so there really was a very much a community feeling in these packing houses, which I think Ruth Starr really does underscore in this particular image. But it's also got some interesting elements too of almost a spiritual quality. The light filtering in through the windows, the serene looks on the pickers' faces. This is typical of Starr's work, and is one of the things that really does make her so remarkable as an artist. Ruth Starr was born to a rather bohemian family that owned a house in Talbot County called Hope House. And Hope House was, close to an African-American community of Copperville. Unlike a lot of the stratifications in society and race in the early 20th century in Talbot County and other Eastern Shore counties, where Black people and white people simply did not intermix or form a community at all, Ruth Starr family were much more sort of liberal and progressive in their ideas, and they formed close connections with members of the African American community in Copperville and friendships. Ruth Starr would later go on to become a member of the local church in Copperville, worshiping with members of the African American community. She even taught Sunday school there. And she would leave to go to Vassar and then later to take art education through an arts league in New York City, where she came to know members of the Harlem Renaissance. And these experiences in the greater world and this idea of, equality really sort of permeated her worldview. And so she brought it back to Talbot County and started documenting the lives of the members of the African American community that she came to know and respect and care for so well. Again, really remarkable for this time period of the Jim Crow era of segregation, which was especially deep on the eastern shore of Maryland. Ruth Starr work of the African American community is really infused with this deep sense of respect and equality. And again, when you look at other images of African Americans from the early 20th century, they tend to be very deeply stereotyped. And it's clear that, Ruth Starr is attempting to transcend a lot of the racial lines that existed in that time period and depict people that she knew so well, with a sense of sympathy and respect. So when I look at this image, it's not just a moment from a packing house in St. Michael's, which of course really would have been very typical of this sort of Depression era that Ruth Starr was documenting, but it's also a testament to the unique relationships that Ruth Starr developed and that makes her work so iconic today. So this image is a print, and throughout the later part of her life, she would really begin to focus on printmaking in particular. So there was recently a wonderful retrospective of her work exhibited here in Talbot County, but then also at some other locations as well, curated by Barbara Peka. And the museum is very proud to own this image by Ruth Starr Rose, which tells us so much about the legacy of crab picking on the Eastern Shore, but also about a really unique woman, the relationships that she developed with the African American community, and what life, work, and play was like for members of that community here in St. Michael's and on the Eastern Shore. So if you want to know more about Ruth Starr Rose, a quick Google search will turn up lots of examples of her artwork. And, you know, she really is a remarkable artist that I would encourage you to learn more about if you're interested. But of course, you can come here to the Maritime Museum and also see this work if you'd like to look at more examples of Ruth Starr Rose's amazing prints and paintings. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you learned a little bit more about an artist you already love, or maybe one that you didn't know about before. And so let us know what you think in the comments below, and join us next week for another installment of Chesapeake Treasure. Have a great afternoon.